For the Record.
Oh, say, can you see?
She has been Pittsburgh's singing sensation since she was a child.
I genuinely don't know where it comes from other than just a blessing.
Now, I sit down with Jackie Evancho from her experiences taking the stage.
Initially, when I started performing, and it still happens, I feel like I become someone else.
To her message for young people today.
It's okay to struggle because everybody does have a struggle, but you can't give up on yourself. You have to keep trying.
And how she's now reinventing her career.
Oh, definitely. It's definitely stressful.
For the Record starts now. Welcome to For the Record. I'm Michelle Wright. Today I sit down with a Pittsburgh native who has been a star of music since she was a young girl. We're talking about Jackie Evancho. Our far-reaching conversation looks back at when she became a national star early on to how she's now tackling a new genre of music. Take a look. And with us now is Jackie Evancho, and she's all grown up. You look beautiful.
Thank you.
Feel like we've watched you grow up here in Pittsburgh.
Oh, that you definitely have.
It's wonderful to see you.
Thank you.
I remember when you were in elementary school, your dad sent me a video of a competition you were in, which was amazing.
Thank
you were 7 years old at the time. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah. I mean, the whole point in my life I fully remember because, I mean, that's when I really discovered that music is what I want to do. And it was so fun.
Well, so many people are saying that you have the voice of an angel. And that started so young, and you did not have any training. Your mom said you were going around singing Phantom of the Opera in the house. How is that possible? Do you know? Do you remember those times of just singing and people saying, how are you doing that?
Oh yeah, I genuinely don't know where it comes from other than just a blessing. But I do remember those times. I remember being in school and singing to myself, and lunch ladies would be like, whoa, is that you singing? Or I'd be walking around a store with my mom doing the same thing, and people would stop and be like, I thought that was the radio. And I was just like, thanks, and then I'd keep moving on.
And I know, speaking of that, in a lot of the competitions that you did as you grew up, some people thought you were actually lip syncing. Talk about that. You had to prove them wrong, that you were actually singing.
Oh yeah. The first time I was on America's Got Talent, I had to prove myself during the elimination round, which was very abnormal. And I remember being more nervous to do that than the initial performance because I had to prove myself. And I actually feel like I failed it, but I mean, I still had the career after.
It's your real voice.
Yes, yes.
Just incredible.
Yes. Thank you.
Speaking of nerves, I wanted to hear any of the performances that you did where you really felt nervous.
Ooh. Well, I feel like every performance, there's always something to do with nerves because, I mean, I think it's a good thing. If I wasn't nervous, I wouldn't care about doing a good job.
Because you pull it off so effortlessly and you don't look nervous at all.
Thank
but is
you.
that what's going on inside?
Oh yeah, yeah. And initially when I started performing, and it still happens, I feel like I become someone else. I used to say that I was possessed by the music because I guess in a way I am. I just step into this confidence and this frame of mind where I am so sure of what I'm doing, how I'm doing it, and I think that's such a great feeling. So I get like addicted to performing, and yeah, I just definitely.
But you feel those nerves underneath.
Yes, yes, absolutely. It always starts like the first minute or two into a song or the show. I'm nervous, trying to find my footing, trying to find the right vibe of the evening. And then from there, it's smooth sailing.
And your voice is so gorgeous once that
Thank you.
smooth sailing clicks in.
Yeah.
How has it been growing up in the spotlight? I know, you've been through a lot, but how has that been for you? Because really, that's all you've known.
Right. There's been ups and downs for sure. Yeah, I can say that I've had such wonderful experiences traveling, seeing things most people don't see, meeting people you don't meet all the time. But it was also difficult, making friends and maintaining friendships and just keeping up with the life that most people have at home was a bit of a challenge. And of course you have to deal with people that aren't the greatest, and growing up with all the criticism and the pressure can be tough, but now that I'm an adult and I look back on it, I'm grateful for some of that pressure because it makes me hold myself to a certain standard, which I'm proud of.
I'm wondering, there's probably a lot of teenagers in high school right now dealing with various types of pressure.
Yeah.
What advice do you have for them? Because it seems like you were, trying to be a typical high schooler. We caught up with you, I remember, once in high school. What advice do you have for other young people, especially young women today, when they feel that pressure?
It's hard for me to say because I still struggle with that pressure. And a lot of things have come out of that pressure that are not good. I guess what I would say to the young women, especially that are dealing with that, is easier said, but that sort of thing really does not end up mattering. If anything, your individuality and your specific personality, the things that make you you, are going to work so much in your favor if you just embrace them and continue to be that as you grow up. Because I really didn't know any other way. My mom raised me to be like individual and not care what people say about it. I mean, I had pink hair when I was like in kindergarten, So just stick with you, and it may be uncomfortable at times, but it's supposed to be. You grow from it.
Mm-hmm. You've been very open about a lot of issues that you've had.
Yeah.
Can you share a little bit about some of your health issues that you've gone through that you want people to know about?
Yeah. I have spoken about disordered eating quite a bit and just mental health struggles. And obviously, that's something that doesn't go away, but you find ways to cope. I'm still dealing with it, still finding ways to battle the downs and enjoy the ups and just find a peaceful place of existence. But I felt like it was important to talk about because, for one, I want my fans to know why there are times where I'm less active or, I have to disappear for an amount of time. And also, I wanted young women especially, or young men that are dealing with similar things, to realize that it's okay to struggle because everybody does have a struggle, but you can't give up on yourself. You have to keep trying. And it's gonna be years for me of trying, if not the rest of my life, but I won't give up.
So you're still going through that right now?
Yes.
How are you doing?
I would say I'm in a bit of a rough patch, but I'm using all of the tools that I've been given throughout the process of me realizing what's going on and healing from it. And I have a great support system, and that's the important part.
I hope you feel the support that Pittsburgh is giving you too.
I
because
do.
we really want the best for you.
Thank you.
So I'm so glad to hear that you're not giving up.
Yeah. That's the hard part, is finding the strength within you when you're struggling with stuff like that to not give up on yourself. Mm-hmm. And you really got to lean on the support systems. And I do feel that support from Pittsburgh, so I love being here.
Still ahead on For the Record.
I was terrified to go in the studio. I spent weeks in my silent space by myself, just belting out everything that I could to find my place again.
Much more from Jackie Evancho, including how she worked to achieve a major shift in her music. Welcome back to For the Record. As I resume my interview now with Jackie Evancho, I ask about several more topics, including her memories of the late Robert Redford, who cast her in her first major big screen acting role, and the issue that had her reaching out to President Trump.
You've given a lot of support to your sister,
Yes.
who went through a transition. Talk a little bit about that, because I know you were really campaigning to raise awareness on transgender teenagers. So talk
Yes.
about that.
I just wanted to show as much support as I could for her. She's dealt with a lot of criticism, and she has these painful memories of high school and being bullied. And the thing is growing up, she was always Juliet. I mean, we liked the same things, played with the same dolls, loved the same dresses. So nothing changed for me except for her quality of life affecting her. It definitely made her depressed to not be accepted and to be bullied, and she has to deal with a totally different degree of fear than even you and I. And I just think it's important that I do my best to show that, you know, she's who she is nobody's business. She's a beautiful human, and I love her.
I know you had at one time asked to speak with President Trump about that.
Yeah.
Did he ever get back to you? Are there any plans now?
No.
No, okay.
You know, what are you gonna do?
We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Let's talk about your switch over from classical music to pop music. Was that frightening to make that big change?
Yes and no, because at that point, COVID had happened, and I was also missing from the scene for a year or two, you know, just healing, dealing with things. And I was super excited to take a chance and, you know, take a leap of faith and do something different. But I was also terrified, not just because of the new genre, but because it was the first thing I was doing, fresh out of a couple years of not doing anything. I was terrified to go in the studio. I spent weeks in my silent space by myself, just belting out everything that I could to find my place again. And when I say place, I mean confidence. My voice was always there. It was just, I needed to find my internal strength again.
Yeah. And you're still pursuing singing in the pop genre. I know you also write a lot of your own music.
Yes.
What is that process like, and where do you get the inspiration for your lyrics?
Growing up in the industry. I am still pursuing pop, but I'm actually kind of exploring a world where I can use more of the classical roots that I have in a sort of more modern way. And a lot of people have attempted this, and I'm hoping I might be able to do it, but...
When are we going to hear some music from that genre then?
Well, I've been doing a lot of writing of it, so hopefully very soon. If not the end of this year, then early next year. Yeah, and I realize releasing singles here and there frequently is the best way to go these days. So hopefully a new single soon.
How stressful is it, knowing you're writing and performing and trying new things? Because I know that it takes a lot of work to do something like that.
Oh, definitely. It's definitely stressful. I don't want to ever fail my younger self when things get stressful. And I want to be able to find a place of success where I feel like I can not only provide for myself and the people I love, but also change the game a little bit. You know, everybody wants to make history, but I really hope I can do that. And yeah.
I can't wait to see what you come out with in another year or two.
Yeah, thank
That's going to be
you.
exciting. Let's talk about your acting career.
Yes.
Very young, you were tapped by Robert Redford to be a part of his movie. Was that your first movie?
Yes. Yeah.
So how was that? Especially, I know he just passed away, and he meant a great deal to you. Can you speak to that?
Well, Robert Redford was the first person in the acting world who saw something in me and decided to sort of take a chance. Because when I sent in that audition tape after he had reached out to my team, it was terrible, and I clearly didn't know what I was doing, but he saw something, and he would tell people that he saw the video, and though it wasn't great, he knew he could direct it. And so when I flew to Canada and did all the filming, he was such a wonderful guide in the world, and, you know, helped me loosen up and taught me just ways to feel more comfortable in an acting scenario. And he was just so warm and embracing. It was like the best scenario anyone could have for their first film.
How did you hear that he passed away?
I think my father may have texted me. And unfortunately, it was the first thing I saw on my phone when I woke up. And it was just heartbreaking. But he had a long, beautiful, legendary life. So that's the good
And
part.
had a huge impact on you.
Yeah.
Any more acting in your future?
I hope so. I mean, I love, especially now, I've grown to not care so much about being embarrassed, which was the biggest block for me. So, I mean, I want to explore the acting world more and, you know, see what I can do there.
Still ahead.
There's something really special about the people in Pittsburgh.
Why Jackie Evancho says she's proud to call the Steel City home. Welcome back to For the Record. As I continue my conversation with Pittsburgh native and singer Jackie Evancho, I ask about all the places her singing has taken her around the world.
You mentioned you traveled internationally and you've been able to see so many amazing things. What's your favorite place been that you've traveled to?
I love Japan. Absolutely love it. Everyone is so kind, it's so clean, the culture is amazing. But I also really actually did love spending a lot of time in Canada. Something about Canada is just so warm and embracing, even though it's cold frequently. And I just have a lot of really great memories there with my mom and my sister who were traveling with me. So yeah, I would say those two.
You're still living in Pittsburgh, so you call Pittsburgh home.
Yes.
Why is Pittsburgh so special that you want to stay here?
There's something really special about the people in Pittsburgh, and also just everything about the architecture, the way that it's structured, just the way things move in Pittsburgh. But the people specifically are so comfortably casual with each other and kind, and there's this sort of camaraderie that we all have where we look after each other and support each other and rally each other on, like almost as if we're all family. So I stick around here because of that specifically, and also it's just beautiful.
It's so nice here. I
Yeah.
think so too.
Yeah.
So we're going to be looking out for some new albums from you in the near future.
Yes.
And so we'll be doing that. What's out right now that you've just done that we should be downloading?
Well, there's a EP that I released last year called Sola, and I actually went on tour with Echo Smith to promote it. Crazy experience,
Yeah.
loved it. Very formative for my, development as a human. But yeah, the EP's called Sola, and they're all songs that I wrote, and Greg Camp, former member of Smash Mouth, produced it. And yeah, I put a lot into it. I've definitely improved writing-wise now, but I still am proud of them.
When did you first realize that you were going to be famous? Because when I first saw your performance, it just blew me away.
Yeah,
And then
thank you.
I've been following you, knowing you were 7 years old, 8, 10.
Yeah.
When did you first realize that people were going to recognize who you were?
It's funny that you asked that because I was just talking to somebody about this. There are even home videos of when I was like 4 where I say to the camera, I want to be a pop star. I've always wanted to be a musician and sing and be in the field. I didn't always sound good. My tonsils were so large that they changed my voice. Oh. And so back then, people kind of laughed at me. But once those were removed and I started singing Phantom of the Opera, it became a little more realistic.
And coming up in just 2 minutes, a final thought from Jackie Evancho. Welcome back to For the Record. Before we go, I asked Jackie Evancho for a final thought. Take a look.
Is there anything else that you would like to add as we wrap up this interview?
Just, keep an eye out for stuff that I'm writing and releasing. And, I'm developing a lot as an artist, learning how to play instruments, working with new musicians. And my longing for creativity is just spreading out into so many different fields. I always did art, painting and stuff, but also just like cinematography and photography, modeling, movies. Keep an eye out for any of it because you never know where I'm gonna go.
We'll definitely be watching her career closely. And that's all for today's edition of For the Record. We will see you next Sunday morning at 11 a.m. Have a good week.
So